everyone, and welcome to the Economic Development Advisory Committee. Tuesday, February 10th, 2006. Call the meeting to order at 10:05. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Clerk Wright, can we have the roll call?
Thank you, Chair Sobalski. Chair Sobalski?
Present.
Erica Edmansky? Erica, can you hear us okay? Erica Edmansky?
Present.
Councillor McDonald? Oh, sorry, Councillor McWhorter? Councillor Dick?
Present.
Christina Oulet? John Poole?
Present.
Laurie Wickisher? Can you hear us there, Laurie? Laurie Wickisher? Thank you for your patience with our audio this morning. I am confirming that Laurie is attending via Zoom. She's just having some audio issues there. So, Chair, we do have quorum.
Thank you very much, Deputy Clerk. So before we get in, is there any declaration of interest? Not seeing any. All right, we're going to move into presentations. Happy to announce that we have a good presentation today. So we have with us Bob Peltzer and Leslie Cassidy, and they're going to do a presentation on how to make active tourism part of your economic development. So I'll hand this over to you two. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm very much excited for this.
Thank you, Chairman. Sarah, can we put the our PowerPoint up, please? The wonders of technology, eh? There we go. Now, if this is going to work or not. No? Is it plugged in? Okay, super. We'll give it a try. First of all, thank you for inviting us here today. Leslie and I are with an organization called OVCATA, and I just want to thank Chairman, members of Council, Committee, and you folks out there in Zoom land for allowing us to take a few minutes of your time. If you haven't heard of OVCATA, it stands for the Ottawa Valley Cycling and Active Transportation Alliance. It's quite a mouthful. We just go by OVCATA. And what we do is we try to promote all types of active transportation and recreation. And we're a not-for-profit organization. We've been around 10 years, and we're completely a volunteer organization. Everybody that is a member of our organization, particularly those of us on the board, we just basically serve for the fun of it. We work with government and groups basically to achieve the goal of trying to make active transportation and recreation better, safer, and more appealable to people. And we represent all kinds of people, not just jocks and spandex, but folks that look like you and me, folks of all levels of ability, all shapes and sizes. Everybody can be part of active transportation and recreation. So let's see if this works. So I'm going to discard this, and I'm just going to go with the point at Sarah and nod method. There we go. So presenting today are two of us, myself and Leslie Cassidy, sitting here next to me. And because we don't like to brag about ourselves, we're going to instead brag about each other. So brief introduction. Leslie lives down the road in Griffith, Ontario. She's been cycling in the Ottawa Valley for over 25 years. She's joined the Ottawa Bicycle Club to meet new friends and serve on its board, and she did that for 3 years. She's a member of the Rideau Lake Cycling Community, which is a very active group. Uh-oh, we lost something. There we go. She's quite an ardent cyclist. She's cycled in France, England, Spain, Cuba, Italy, around the U.S., and including Alaska. Along with the OVCATA board members, she built the mapping tool, which you're going to be seeing later today in our presentation. She's also a freelance writer, so you may have seen her before sitting around this room. She works part-time for the Eganville Leader, Ontario by Bike, and various tourism organizations. So that introduces Sarah. Now tell them all about me.
Just a bit of background on Bob. Bob owned an Ottawa Valley tourism business for nearly 30 years before retiring in 2014. During that time, he served over 25 years on the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association, and 12 of those as president. He also served 23 years as a member of Municipal Council in the Bonnechere Valley Township. After selling his business in 2014, he discovered his love of hiking and cycling and traveling. And he's been everywhere on his bike, having ridden across 3 continents and cycled on every one except South America and Antarctica. He's toured through 17 different countries and over many of the rail trails in Canada and the U.S., and he has learned to appreciate the economic impact that those trails offer. And he understands the fantastic resource Renfrew has running right past its front doors, and wants to see Renfrew take advantage of what has worked elsewhere that he has seen in terms of the rail trails and the various trails that you have here.
Yeah, thanks, Leslie. I couldn't have written that better. Oh, I did write it. Thank you. All right, so there was our title slide, and the title of the slide might have given you a bit of a pause. Is Renfrew a town on a trail or a trail town? Well, the question is, what's the difference? It's a big difference. Basically, a town on a trail is a town that just happens to have a trail running through it, like you have a highway running by your front door. It can be a place they drive by, it can be a place the airplanes fly over, but it doesn't receive much economic impact. Trail towns was a concept developed down in Pennsylvania along a fairly major trail that runs from Pittsburgh to Washington, D.C. Together they're called GAPCO, the Great Allegheny Passage and the C&O Canal. And about 20 years ago, they looked at this resource and said, wait a second, our towns are not really making much money off of this. And they decided to develop a process by which they would then turn this into part of their economic development. So not just down there, but around the world, I've seen what cycling and active tourism can do for a town, especially small ones. It's not a panacea, it's not a boon, but it is absolutely an asset that any small town would be remiss to overlook. Sarah? So Renfrew. Basically, everywhere I've ridden, I'm riding around, I might be in Japan, I might be in Europe or wherever I am. I always think back home and I see things over there and I look at that and I say, why can't we do that here? And the answer is generally we can. Now, up until recently, we didn't have the infrastructure other than highways to do it. But within the last 10 years, something has happened, and all these old abandoned railroad lines have now been turned into recreational trails. So when I look at Renfrew, Renfrew has got quite a bit of what I think is the secret sauce to make it one of the most successful trail towns in Renfrew County, if possibly not in Canada. Sarah? So when I ride around on a bike, what do I spend? I spend money on food. I've got to eat. And because I'm on a bicycle, I can't carry it all with me. I've got to sleep. I love to sleep in hotels. Not always available, so I've done a fair amount of cycle camping. But either way, I'm spending money. And finally, things to see and do. I get to a place, especially if it was a short day's ride, I like to find something to do. Maybe it's just sit down in a restaurant and bar and have a beer and maybe something to eat. Or maybe it's go out and attend a concert or visit a museum. I'm a bit of a museum freak, so if there's one there, I will generally find it. So how much do I spend? Typically anywhere from around $100 a day, but I have spent $500 a day sometimes, a couple times maybe and a bit more. Not particularly a wealthy cyclist, but sometimes if you want to do something and it's there to do, you just close your eyes, reach for the wallet, and spend it anyway. And I have found that there are a lot of other cyclists that do the same thing. Sarah? So, Is there a town where I can hike and bike and find all those things? Well, I've kind of hinted that there is. And even though I just live down the road outside of Eganville, you'd be amazed the number of times that I've started my trips and ended my trips here in Renfrew. Well, why is that? There's a good reason. First of all, you've got the best mix of services and trails in the Ottawa Valley, but there's something more important. Look at this map. You notice anything? Sarah, give it a click. You're kind of right there, not quite in the middle, but at a very important point. If you notice the blue line, the purplish blue line, and the red line, there's a junction there. That's a junction in part of a 1,000-kilometer trail network. And when I made this slide, there are about 600 kilometers already built. There's actually more now. They're running it all the way up to Rawfton as I speak. That'll be open this summer on the Ottawa Valley Algonquin Trail. But it's even more important than that. You're even one step better than what this map shows. And by the way, this map, if you just back up for a sec, that map, when presented it, was it 2 or 3 years ago to a conference we held in Arnprior, that map convinced the counties of Renfrew, Lanark, and Frontenac to get together and develop this resource. They noticed there was something about this map that we pointed out to them. And if you'll give me the next slide. You're at the junction of 3 trails on this 1,000-kilometer trail network. And those 3 trails, the Ottawa Valley Algonquin Trail, the K&P Trail, and the Cataraqui Trail, which I don't really show on the map, they form a loop, basically a 381-kilometer looping trail network. Added to that, you have this other trail called the Millennium Trail, which runs from here to Arnprior and back, which makes a somewhat long but nice one-day looping ride for somebody. So, loops are important. I think I'm on that slide. No, go back a bit one, sorry. Loops are important because if you're on a loop, you don't have to worry about arranging a shuttle, which can be complicated. A couple of the trails that I've ridden, I've had to pay somebody to drive me and my bicycle to the far end so I could ride back to my vehicle. But if you start, for example, here in Renfrew, park your car, you can get on your bike and basically do a 381-kilometer ride all the way around and come back to Renfrew. And you can extend it longer because that same looping network connects down to Kingston and also all the way over to Ottawa without ever having to ride on a road. That, and I've seen a bunch of resources, that is an amazing resource. I have not seen it anywhere else in the world. And that is what I think the counties right now are developing and tying together and trying to develop signage and other programs for. Right, you can write it now. I wrote it last year. As the resources develop, particularly information for riders, that sort of thing, it's going to become more and more popular. I think it'll be a go-to destination, equal to anything else we have here in Canada, and certainly the equal of a lot of what they have in the U.S. So loops are important. Next one, please. So, more than that, you've got one essential thing that any cycle tourist or any kind of tourist, whether they're hiking or not, needs, and that's a trailhead. And having a trailhead is one of the things, most important things aside from the trails, that'll make you a trail town. People need a safe place to park. And when they do that, they also need a few other things, usually washrooms, usually direction of some sort, signage. They need to know what's out there and how do I get to it. So you already have built in at Mattaway Park a beautiful facility. Washrooms are already there. Water's already there. And you are at the junction of 3 trails. Ottawa Valley Algonquin, K&P, and the Millennium Trail are all reachable and on Mattaway Park. It is, to me, an amazing thing to have. Other towns are scrambling right now to try to figure out where to put a trailhead. You've got it. It's right here. Next one, please. So, what makes Renfrew perfect? Quick inventory. You've got safe places to ride. You've got this amazing trail network, not just right at your doorstep, but at the nexus of 3 different adjoining trails. You also have a wonderful network of local roads, and Leslie's going to touch on some of that. You've got some beautiful backcountry road rides that you can do, and there's a lot of folks that love to do that. A lot of places to get food or to eat, places to stay, both places to camp, bed and breakfasts, and a very nice hotel. Things to see and do, places to park with easy access to washrooms. Again, you've got a lot of what it takes to be a trail town. Next one, please. So what's next? Well, in order to capitalize on this, first of all, you need to get the information out there. Signage is important, advertising is important. I'm showing you there a sign from the town of Verona. Not exactly a metropolis, fairly small town. Yet on their trail, that's part of the K&P, they've built this little information kiosk. It's got a map, shows you where you are, where you can go. It's got a bit of local history. It's on the other side of that particular kiosk. They've got a list of businesses and where they are, the kind of things that a hiker, a cyclist, or an ATVer would be looking for. Great. Once I hit Verona, I can find all that stuff. Plus, they have a nice online presence. Parking, accommodations, businesses, directions, toilets, those are all things we need to know about. And sometimes you get there and your phone's dead, and I've had that happen more than once, or for some reason you don't have a good internet connection. Physical signs still have a big place in this. Next one, please. You also need to present a welcoming face. You want to let folks know you care, that you want them there. And you need to become cycle and active friendly. And there's a couple of ways to do it, and Leslie's going to be talking about this in a bit, but you got to shout it out. You got to get that message out there, and it's going to involve arts. It's going to involve ads, and it's going to definitely involve bringing businesses into this project. One more, please. You got to also look at safety. People need to get across the highway safely. You need to smooth curb cuts, and you've got to remove hazards. You've got one real bad one here in Renfrew, Highway 60. I was talking with Kyle about it. You got a beautiful trail, but it crosses a busy highway with, well, 3 or 4 lanes of traffic at an angle. I don't want to do it. I won't do it. And I've ridden in like Barcelona and places where they're just like cars up the wazoo. And I will not cross that road there. I will go down the grassy shoulder to the traffic light, although last year when I did it, somebody had very thoughtfully erected a wooden signpost right in the middle of it. So I had to go off the slope to get around it. What would it take to make that into a safe trail crossing? Either a little bit of stone dust, asphalt, or cold patch down that one side of the road near the nursery there to the traffic light. And even ATVers would probably prefer to do that unless they're crossing in the middle of the night. It's a dangerous intersection, but the solution is there, and probably for a very small amount of money, it can be fixed. Curb cuts, another one. I know there's plans to rebuild a curb, but while you're waiting, there's still folks using it. Women with strollers, people with mobility devices, cyclists, a little bit of cold patch to take that rough curb, which when you're riding and you don't see it, you basically come down, bump, and can possibly have an accident. Smooth it out with a little bit of cold patch until you can actually rebuild the curb. Job is done for the cost of fixing a pothole. And of course, having your public works department look after the trails the same way they do roads. Look for things like down branches, trees down, things of that nature. Even though, maybe the county looks after most of the trail, if your guys are in the area, having a little pass through and taking a look doesn't really cost much and may save somebody from having an accident. All those things address safety, and they don't cost much at all. One more, please. And spreading the good word. And for here, I'm going to be turning it over to Leslie because we've got some free tools for you to use. Not to mention you're going to have make some of your own. But Leslie's going to talk about some of the free resources that exist right now for you guys to use. And I've also left some information with Kyle, and I'll be emailing it to Sarah, that shows the economic impact and what some other towns have been able to do. Anyway, thank you for letting me talk. Sarah?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Sorry, technology. Okay, the first tool I'll talk about is 2 of us from Ovcata got together and decided to pick out not all our favorite routes, but some of the best routes that you can find in the valley. And these are mainly for cyclists, but we are going to at some point add some more information in for hikers and walkers as well. Ride with GPS is an application that's, it's a website as well as an app that you can download to your phone. And it's a very popular one with millions of rides. So what we've done is we've set up something for Renfrew County. And if you look here, I've logged in as admin, so obviously there's lots of extra jibber jabber, but If you go under the collections, you'll see that there's all sorts of groupings. So we've got family and fun short rides. We've got Ottawa Valley gravel routes. We've got rail trail fun. Obviously, the Algonquin Trail, the KNP, the Millennial Trail is in there. The Ottawa Valley cycling map, Armprior. So all different routes that you can find all over the Ottawa Valley. So as an example, under Renfrew, we'll take a peek. And it does pop up with a map showing you the different, probably about 8 or 9 that we've selected that we think are great for Renfrew. And these are, because we have thousands of kilometers of roads and we have gravel riders and mountain bikers and road riders and walkers and hikers, what we did is we selected the routes that we think are the most beautiful, show the area, show farmland, show rivers, show water, and take you also to some of the local businesses, such as the Bonachère Caves, such as the Ottawa Valley Coffee Shop. So we've tried to really incorporate places where you can stop. So as an example, this one is a 17.4K ride. So you can zoom in and take a look, and this will help you plan your route. And you can see that there is, you know, the bridge that goes over the Bonachère River. The Comfort Inn is there. There's also the bookstore, several different restaurants. So here you, okay. I'm going to go to the route actually, so you can see it. So if you go to the route, there. So that shows you the information. And with every route that we've put in here so far, we've added a description so that you get a sense of what you're getting into. You can also see that, oh, part of it is paved, part of it is unpaved. Okay, so then that way you can make decisions whether you should take your, you know, super skinny tires or you can take your e-bike and feel safe. Here's an example. One, you start in Mattaway Park, you go through a quiet street on downtown, you go out the Algonquin Trail, and then partway back you end up coming to Gourlay's, so you know that there's a stop out there if you run out of water or Gatorade, or they used to have butter tarts at the front cache. I don't know if they still do, but they're always good on a ride. And then you come back and you park at Mattaway, and we also have information about each one, and we're adding pictures as we go. And that, you know, gives people a sense of a ride that they can do. So as you can see, we have a number of different ones, and we focus on the rail trails as well. And there's a description for each one. So here's the Bonachère, here's a long ride. And as you can see from the elevation, you can make a decision then, well, how much climbing do I want to do today and how much flat? So we'll go check that route out quickly. Here you leave from Mattaway Park, you end up looping out through Douglas, and then you end up out at 5th Chute. You can have lunch. We've got pictures and a description as well. Oh, here's the Bonachère Caves. There's also the bridge there. A lot of people like to stop, take pictures of the water. So it gives people a planning tool. And what this does is it welcomes people to the area and saying, here are all these routes that are pretty amazing, and here are the ones around Renfrew, some that go off into the Whitewater region. And we're trying to focus on places that they can stop, businesses they can support, as well as areas they can really enjoy seeing. So that's our application that we've developed, and we're hoping to have that finished in the next month or so, or at least in a static state so that we can put it online and share it with Ottawa Valley Tourism. So that it is operational right now, but there is some fussing we're still doing with it, and we're hoping this summer to have a ride of the week. And we're going to go out and take some photos and do the ride and then post some pictures and encourage people. And as you can see, we've got routes that are 5K and we've got routes that are 100K. So we're trying to cover it for everybody so that people get a sense of, you don't have to be a spandex-loving type of rider, or the 5K is actually a lovely walk as well. It's a nice walk around town and you're not on roads. So that's a tool we've developed, and we're hoping to have in a very static state in the next month, but we've advanced fairly well. The second tool is back to the other presentation, and that's the certification as a bicycle-friendly business. And the great thing about that is that it's free. So you can sign up online, it's quite easy to do, and you can register, and then you have to meet some criteria. Now, the criteria aren't onerous, but I just want to explain a bit. The Ontario by Bike Network is a group out of Toronto. It's a small, there's only 2 staff, but it's quite powerful nonprofit that provides information for cyclists to be able to spend their money in Ontario. And also it supports businesses to welcome cyclists and share surveys with them and information so that they can make decisions about welcoming cyclists. There's 1,720 businesses currently that are part of this network. And the wonderful part is we have 39 in Renfrew County already signed up. And as an example, some of the criteria. So what they're looking for is things like parking. Secure, visible bicycle parking. So racks or a designated area or a post, or some businesses do allow you to come and take your, like Ottawa Valley Coffee here in Renfrew. You know, they don't have bicycle racks or posts, but what they do have is you can lean your bike against the patio. That's no problem, and they're very welcoming about that. They also just asked that you have some information. The Renfrew County cycling map was redone this year. A few of us were involved in that, and it's being printed this week, is my understanding, and it will be available in the next few days, if not next week. They do ask you also to have a basic tool repair kit. Some people have a pump. You go to $40 at Canadian Tire and you can have a bicycle pump. So it's not a very onerous ask. And those are kind of the core criteria. Now there is a few select ones for cafes. They just ask that you have water available as well as local or some healthy food option if possible. I mean, I know lots of cyclists that love French fries and hamburgers and stop in Quadville at that corner store, very happy after all the hills they've climbed through that whole area. So, you know, it's, and there is flexibility with this because we've tried accommodation in Ontario through the bike network, and down in Prince Edward County, one of the places we stayed, we showed up and there was a bike rack in the middle of the parking lot. We were kind of like, oh, you know, you're a little nervous about parking your bike, but then you see that there's 3 video cameras on it, security cameras, as well as somebody that walks around at night to make sure. Other places, you put your bike in their garage, a small inn near Charbot Lake, and you come off the trails there and, you know, you're parked in beside their firewood pile and their cars. But it's wonderful, it's safe, it's secure. That generally makes cyclists happy. So there's flexibility with the criteria, but they're not onerous, they're not expensive, and to sign up is free. So yeah, those are the 2 tools that we have right now at our disposal, and we want to thank you very much. And if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer.
Amazing. Leslie and Bob, well done. Very nice
Thank you.
presentation. I enjoyed it. Yeah, for questions, I'll open it up. Does anyone have any questions? John Paul.
Sure, excellent. Thank you. Excellent presentation. When you talk about being a trail town, from your travels and being out on the bike, what sort of events should we be thinking of? Like, should there be a sort of cornerstone event that is cycling or walking or whatever it might be, or is it more of a case of just being?
Well, remember, you don't want to be a once-a-year flash in the pan, right? You like this to be a sustaining, continuing thing, particularly your businesses. They can't build a business model on a one-year event. There are towns that I've seen that have put on cycling events that have made them attractive. Actually, Eganville puts on the Tour de Bon each year. Killaloe's doing one now. That gets the people interested in the roads, whether it's a tourism driver or not. I don't know. I see a lot more people cycling on the roads in my area now than I ever used to before we started running that event. So it has to help. But I would think more in terms of long-term sustainability as a term, as opposed to one-term events. Events are great as a kickoff. They're also great to do occasionally. Mm-hmm. But I think we can overdo the whole event idea. The nice thing is if you have things going on, and like most towns, you've got something going on most every weekend in the summer. Get that information out to the people that are passing through. What did I wind up? I was in a town, I can't think of anything. It was in, I think, Wyoming. It's at the end of the George Mickelson Trail. And I wound up staying at this crazy motel that was, I think, made for railroad workers because they didn't even recognize that I had a reservation. It was listed as a Quality Inn. But I got to this town and it took me like an hour for them to find the right person and give me one of the railroad workers' rooms because I'd paid for it. But so I'm in town, I've got like, oh, geez, you know, it's too early to go to bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. What am I going to do? Well, turns out I go out to the front desk and there's a little thing. There's a rodeo down the street. Oh, damn, I've never been to a small town rodeo before. Well, that was just the thing. And then afterwards, there was a steakhouse. Well, what do you want to go to out in the West except a Western steakhouse where there's been a rodeo? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, what a fantastic little place. That was a dusty little railroad town that I don't think anybody would have put on their tourism map. That's the kind of thing that makes me want to go back, you know? And that's the kind of thing I look for.
In regards to, like, when you are creating a crowd, are cyclists usually in groups, or is it like adventurers that are flying solo? Like, is there, obviously it's a mix of everything, but if you were to categorize it, is it groups of 4 that are the most popular, or is it bigger than that, or smaller?
I would say personally, there always are the solo riders, but there are people, like I know when I lived in Ottawa and I was riding out here, I'd be calling up friends, let's go out here for the day.
Right.
Or we have a cottage in Calabogie, so I would meet a group of friends in Renfrew, or we'd meet in Arnprior and we'd plan a ride. And then we'd plan somewhere to eat after and go have a beer and catch up. So I would say it's definitely groups. I would say, you know, I mean, Bob can speak to his experience, but anywhere from 2 to 6. Some of us don't like to ride in big packs, others do. It kind of depends on what you're setting up. But there's a lot of, like when we were setting this up, we ran a couple and working on providing input to the Ottawa Valley cycling map. It was interesting. We met a woman in Arnprior, and she has a group of women in their 60s who their husbands don't ride, or their husbands ride much further. So they have these routes that are all 30K around Arnprior. So there's a group of anywhere from 5 to 10 of them that go out twice a week, and they go to Neat Cafe, or they, you know, do these
That's
rides.
cool.
So it's a real mix, but I would say generally you'll find the solo riders, but you'll also find a number of groups.
Yeah. And I maybe can add to that. I think you're basically going to see 3 different types of active tourists. The individual person, which I've been a lot of times. The ride I talked about last summer where I started here in Renfrew, I did that on my own. Just couldn't get anybody to go with me during the time I had to go. But I've also been with groups anywhere from like 10 up to maybe 20 or 30. And those were organized trips where there was somebody moving our luggage ahead from us every day. They booked the hotels. They made the arrangements for the restaurants, that sort of thing. And then the third type is the destination rider. That's a person that says, I want to do a vacation this summer someplace where they're cycling. Where can I go? Well, again, you look at Renfrew, a person could stay here in a hotel or a bed and breakfast and have a different ride of a decent length every day of the week. So there's 3 different types, and I think you've got what it takes to appeal to all 3.
The last thing I wrote down was, is there a way, maybe it's through what you already have online, where there is a way to track bookings? Like it seems like there is a little bit of a free spirit to it, like hey, I want to go on a trail ride, but is there infrastructure that could be built where people are either signing up for something just so that you know they're going to be there, so that you could provide extra services? Or
I don't know of anything here, nor have I encountered well, there are a couple things. There are a couple tour operation companies that will what they call bespoke tours, where they will take for 2, 3, 5 people and arrange a tour, book the hotels and that sort of things for you for a fee. They don't put a guide out with you or anything else, but they will arrange that. So those services exist. I think there's one here in the Valley. I can't remember her name that runs it. But outside of that, group tours are generally run by group tour companies. They will, again, come in and make all the reservations, usually months and months ahead of time. So if I've got a hotel, this company's probably contacted me maybe almost a year in advance and made sure that I was available for this particular date. Now, again, those kind of tours, they're usually there maybe 1 or 2 nights.
right.
Sometimes you'll be a breakdown where they're giving their riders a couple days off or whatever. That's great, because then you're getting them for 2 or 3 days. And they can be groups, I've seen as small as 6, and over in Africa this year, I think it's a group of 40.
Wow.
Yeah, last year it was only around 20 of us, but this year it's big.
Thank you. We're going to try. I see Lori has her hand up. Let's see if she can get through, or is it? She can't hear, or she can't speak. there any other questions towards this? Okay. I'll put you on the spot real quick. If you could each name 2 or 3 items that Renfrew's missing.
That's
gonna-
missing?
Missing. What are the top 2 or 3 things that's going to help give us direction on what we need to implement to get this rolling?
Signage right off the top of the bat. That's one. You'd really have no signage whatsoever that I've found. I guess the closest thing is at the junction of the Algonquin and K&P, there's something the snowmobiles clubs have put up, but it's geared towards winter and snowmobiling. That's not a bad location, by the way. You can't have everything at Mattaway Park, because some folks, if they're just passing through, aren't going to see Mattaway Park. But that's a person you still want to get a hold of. They still might need something, and they might not even know it's here. So signage is one, and if I had to name a second one, it would be some sort of a marketing plan to take advantage of this. Doesn't necessarily need to involve big dollars, but you've got, for example, the Ottawa Valley Tourist Association out there, which is already marketing to psycho and active tourists. You might find a way to piggyback on some of their efforts. Leslie, did you see something, or?
I was going to say signage.
Yeah.
And part of that is when you're on the trail, and even just as an example, pulling into Armpar, I mean, it's a little better because at least the Algonquin Trail crosses the main street in Renfrew. So you do see, oh, here's downtown, okay, at least. But it'd be nice to have, you know, signs for the coffee shops or for places to stay and have, you know, Manitou, Swiss Alps, Bonachere Bakery, you know. It's signage that I think is the big start, and I do agree with Bob that some marketing on that front, because you guys do have a great asset. You have 3 great trails here that you don't have to cycle on the road.
Yeah, I'll give you, if you have a moment, I'll give you a good example.
We'll give you 2 minutes, and then we're going to move you along.
Okay, this is a quick one. Back in the 70s, myself and a few other friends were doing a canoe trip down in the U.S., and we had a really bad day. We had gotten pretty well drenched out on a flooded river, lost a canoe paddle, and we wound up in this one little town on the river called Hancock. And we just wanted to find a place where we could buy a canoe paddle and maybe get some food. Couldn't find a thing. I had a hard time even finding the town from the river. Skip forward to today, or maybe last year, and when I was biking through Hancock on a rail trail, now there's flags, signs. I can find anything. There's a bicycle shop. There's signs that say, here's where you can stay, here's where you can eat, and it made all the difference. We wound up really having a miserable half hour trying to find something in Hancock and moving on. And this last time when I went through Hancock, completely different. Once they were a town on a trail, now they're a trail town.
Amazing. Thank you. And I guess my question was a little bit loaded. I was hoping that was going to be the answer. Our town did get the opportunity to meet with the MPP in regards to economic and tourism, et cetera, and signs are talking list. So at the end of today's meeting, we have a motion that we're going to discuss that could get this ball rolling a little bit faster down the hill. So, Bob, Leslie, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So very much
Thanks for
your
the
presentation.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And by the way, you know, OVCATA, we are a resource. We've got a lot of incredibly experienced people. If you would like us to come in and talk or just bounce some ideas off us, we're volunteers. Some of us are retired. Nothing else to do.
Okay.
Except
you.
ride my bike.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Just everyone that's in the room, we're just going to take a 5-minute recess, hopefully quicker than that. Just technical issues for our online folks. They're having a hard time hearing us, and we really value their input, so we want to make sure that they can hear us. welcome back. Thank you for giving us an opportunity for a recess. We did get our online members the chance to hear what's happening. If I get a thumbs up, that means they're still hearing us. All right, awesome. Okay, we're going to move into our development and economic update. We have with us Jacob Collins. He's got a quick report.
Thank you, Chair. So, unfortunately, I can't get too deep into the weeds right now because it's still ongoing in negotiations, but we have brought forward offers on 2 separate parcels of land that the town has for sale to close council for negotiation. So we're hoping to move forward and get those deals kind of finalized here in the next little while, which is pretty exciting for the town because it's been a long time coming trying to sell some land to developers. So this will be a great step for sure, and there's some more to come. So with that said, we are ready to list a property on 7th Avenue, a small infill lot, as well as the rec center. And we're going to be doing our due diligence on the Pines property, which is located between 6th and 7th Street. There's an old drainage pipe through there that's, we're not really sure what exactly it does, so we've got to do some research on that, and then hopefully that's another property that we can have listed in the near future. And there's also quite a few more properties that will be coming forward to be deemed surplus and then actively listed for sale for development in the town. So some exciting things to come with the land sales. And one other note, just, I don't have it on my slide, it just came in this morning, but there was a hotel developer that reached out looking to see some available sites that we have, as well as a feasibility study. So hopefully we can take that and run with it and see where it goes.
Thank you very much. Is there any questions for Jacob on properties? Not seeing any. As always, when you say hotel and interest, that gets us interested. So thank you. Be nice to hear more when you can share that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully we can get them into town and show them around, and yeah.
Excellent. Good job. Okay, thank you. Moving into the community update with us today, again, we have Reeve Emo, and he's got a few updates for us coming out of the county of Renfrew, including the Canadian Nuclear Laboratory, recreation trail work plans, and Development Property Committee agenda minutes. No, that's something different. No, just the first two. Sorry. To you, Reeve.
Thank you. Very quickly, just the GOCO model presented to County Council last week, or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry. If you look at page 3, it talks about, on the slide deck, it talks about the government-owned contractor operated. So the first 10-year program, the first 10-year contract has lapsed. They went back to market, and so there's a new consortium that's taking over the operation. They have a 10 and a 5. So they'll be there 15 years. That was one of the complaints we had about the current model, was that it was great because it was a new idea at the time, and so they've changed the model. One of the things we're still interested on is getting someone to sit on the board, a local person to sit on the board for AECL. AECL still owns the footprint, or the campus, if you will, and the GOCO operator it has the, if you will, a lease for the project. And so we'd like to get someone local sitting on AECL's board. So that's been a struggle, but we'll see what we can do about it. So if you take a look at the next slide, there's 3,468 people directly connected, $300 million in local salary, about a 0.5% growth in 2025. So there's over 300 suppliers, which means there's $75 million spent in a 200-kilometer radius. So that's very interesting and important for us, and I really want to bring that forward to you to see if there's any opportunities. On their supplier days, they have 2 supplier days a year where they have a forum where suppliers come in, or potential suppliers, and they educate them about the work. The only ones I've ever seen there have been ETM and Yemen of local folks. So if we can get that out, you know, that's some money. They want to spend money in Eastern Ontario, and especially Renfrew County. And then you see there 125 students, and there's 300,000 dollars in community involvement. So we want to get more money into community support. This year they're spending about $11 billion on that campus. It's going to be stable after that of $10 billion a year for the next 10 years has been scheduled by the government. So it's a very lucrative supplier of monies into the community. Next, they talk about their Unity 2 fusion fuel cycles. The next one, the next slide's really interesting, where they talk about their Actinium 225. It's the newest, if you will, fuel which we'll use for medical imaging. So it's new, and they're the only site in Canada that's utilizing it, and so that's quite interesting for Canada and for Renfrew County. And then you go down to the 2 slides in where they talk about the Gentilly 1 used fuel. That's from White Shell, which is out in Manitoba. They've been decommissioning it. Of interest is the hot cells, the Advanced Nuclear Materials Research. So they do a lot of work for a variety of private companies who want to know more about their product, or whether their product has the right materials for the intended purpose. So it's a I wouldn't say a money maker, but it's a revenue producer for them, and it also allows them to be on the cutting edge of a lot of research. They have a university program, of course, and then their new near-surface disposal facility. They're still working on it. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that in the long term. Their license renewal, right now they're at the end of a 10-year license, and I've testified or made presentations twice now on behalf of the County of Renfrew. So they're looking for a longer license in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 years, or maybe even 25 years. They point out that OPG at Darlington has a license for 20 years, and Nordion has one for 25 years. So it's not out of the realm of possible, and it's not a new concept. So we're still tracking that. Their second last slide says, about their track record and longer duration licenses. It talks about decades of safe operations. We shorten that to say the people that work there are our family and our neighbors, and we play hockey with them, we go to concerts with them, we have barbecues with them, so we trust them to look after the community. And that's usually how I sum up my license whenever I do a license presentation. So next I'll take you to the trails. And the trails budget, if you take a look at it, it's up to $205,000 this year from $25,000. The interesting piece that you might be interested in is the dust suppression is $50,000, so that's 2 applications. Renfrew is a recipient of that because of the stretch from Lockheil out the Hall. It's one of the areas where we've got a lot of residential areas along the trail. Signage and gates is $38,000 this year. There is a conversation going on, and I'm sure it'll happen, between the ATV crowd, Town of Renfrew, and Renfrew County about Mask Road, putting a culvert in the end of Mask Road, cutting those trees out, and making that an entrance, so it takes it down to the Visitor Information Center for parking. So further to what the previous delegation was talking about, there is an attempt to start marketing that area, recognizing. And I don't think they knew about this, but 10 years ago, we sort of pinpointed to them that Renfrew was a nice junction for all of the trail networks. And so I think they've bitten into that from the sound of it. Further on, there is a signage policy we just passed, which will come out to Renfrew for the signs on the trail. So we are aware there's a need for more wayfinding signs. Wayfinding signs, sorry. And so you'll see more about that in the next little while. Spending money on the KMP trail, it remains consistent at $25,000. You'll ask me about the former CN trail line. Sorry, it's It's the one that runs from Whitewater to the Quebec border into Pembroke. It's been purchased by the 3 municipalities, and we're going to operate it for them. So there is that link to Quebec, and then over to, in theory, to Algonquin Park. And that's, we're spending $40,000 on it. Next, I would take you to the chamber, or to the Taste of the Valley. And so it was a really successful event. There's 5 events. You'll see the dates. 208 total vendor applications, 184 vendors in at least one event, 108 artisan vendors, 63 food, 13 vendors registered. So over 10,000 people attended those 5 events. The biggest one, as you see, was Cobden at 6,000. You see a lot of social media, Facebook and Instagram. So we were able to calculate, because the biggest question you get all the time is, well, what kind of money, how do you get any value out of this? Like, people come in, we don't know what they're doing. It doesn't, and you're spending $5,000 or $8,000 or $20,000 advertising. So what we're able to say is that total visitor spending was $1 million. Gross domestic product impact was $740,000. Direct $536,000, indirect $83,000, and induced $120,000. Good feedback. 74% of the vendors were satisfied. They were satisfied with their sales. The timing seemed to be good for them in terms of the events, and advertising was rated 4.3 out of 5. So those are the kinds of things. We're always doing the metrics. We're trying to figure out how to make these better and get more people in, and then you see some quotes from the visitors as well. So a very productive time, to be honest with you. And then when you go to, I gave you the whole package from development and property, kind of by accident, and also because I couldn't figure out how to get to separate some of the stuff out of it. So what I was after was the real estate sales, and so that's on page 25 of that package. If you look at real estate rent-proof, the average was $423,000 for a home this year. Last year it was $392,000, and the 5-year average was $387,000. So there is progress. What is a little worrisome, but I don't know if it's too terribly worrisome, is that 124 units were sold this year, or last year, I'm sorry, versus 140 in 2024, and the average at 5 years is 121 units a year. So those are the things that I keep track of out of idle curiosity. So the good news is less homes, but the price has gone up, if you want to look for good news. A little worrisome that there's 16 less sold, and then you look at the bottom numbers where it talks about active listings. I'm going to ask them this year if they can, instead of giving us the percentage at the bottom, if they can list the last 3 years what the active listings were at the end of the year, because I'm kind of curious about that. And then next is the did we have? Sorry, I'm trying to remember what else I cited in there. No, those are the 2 things on the development and property. You look at I gave you some information in there as well about what each department at the county that's directly associated with economic development. Just a little information for you there. And then very quickly, when you look at the EORN report, page 30, it's just the towers updates. So there's page 32 talks about co-locates. Page 33 to 36 talk about the new builds, and when they say an uplift, that is simply adding to the tower and making it bigger. And co-locates is an existing tower that might be a Rogers, and they're adding Bell, or it might be Bell and they're adding Rogers. And then new builds are exactly new builds. And with that, Chair, that's all I can present to you at this time. I can answer any questions, hopefully.
Thank you, Revimo, again, for all the information. Does anyone have any questions at this time? Okay, not seeing any. Are our online folk frozen? It appears so. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any questions at this time. Reeve, thank you for the report. It's nice to see that the county is continuously putting money into the trails, and with today's ongoing theme, that's encouraging news.
One thing I forgot to mention about Bissett Creek, the Bissett Creek Bridge that crosses over in Headclare Mariah over Highway 17. We're putting $150,000 in the pot this year to design that bridge. We've approached the province. We think it's about a $2.4 million project because we have to put new abutments in. Because if you go through there, remember it's a pinch point, and we need to put a bridge in because there's just no spot to put a level crossing. It's not safe, so it's going to be expensive. They were moderately to very cold about it, so we'll see what happens.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We're going to skip through items E2 and E3, just representatives unfortunately not able to be here or stay for the duration. So we're going to move on to E4, which I'll read this out. That the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommend that Renfrew Town Council direct staff to research other municipalities that have incorporated adventure and trail tourism into their economic development strategies, and to report back to the committee with findings and recommendations on whether a similar model could be implemented. I have a mover. John Poole. I'd like to have some discussion about this. It hinges just on the report that or the presentation, sorry, that we had. It's an item that we've been working on for the past few meetings. Okay. Sorry, I've just got an update. We are still having technical difficulties. We do require our online folk to be part of this meeting for us to continue on a voted item. So my options are I give another few minutes to try and get them back online, or we're going to have to call this meeting at this point, and we'll have to pick these topics up on the next one, which is tough. So I'd like to give 5 minutes if we can all just kind of be patient and see if we can get Lori and Erica back on and see if we can get through this. back, everyone, from our second recess. And we've recessed not because of a long time, because of technical difficulties. So again, I appreciate the, I'll steal the word tenacity of our online members. So I'm just going to read this again. I did have a mover from John Pohl, but just so that we're all refreshed. And then we'll get into some comments. Anyways, it is that the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommend that Renfrew Town Council direct staff to research other municipalities that have incorporated adventure and trail tourism into their economic development strategies, and to report back to the committee with findings and recommendations on whether a similar model could be implemented in Renfrew. So I have John Pohl as a mover, and at this point I want to open this up to discussion about this particular motion, or if there's something that maybe you want to see changed, or even just general communication that can be relayed back to staff. Okay, I'm not seeing much. The intent of this is just to give Renfrew Town staff direction so that they can start helping this committee and helping this motion, so that we can utilize the resources of the town of Renfrew to talk about potential signage, to talk about, you know, how we can start implementing some of the good conversations that we've had. And how would you say, if information comes into us, like from the Renfrew County ATV Club, or if we ask them to reach out to get information, or even the next step of delegations. So within this, I know I'm missing something. Okay, all right. Yeah, so also within this is an opportunity for us to add. So I've spoken to the Whitewater snowgoers informally, and I've asked them to kind of bounce some ideas off of their board members at their next meeting as to what Ride Renfrew could be for them, what kind of amenities would help them advertise, what we could help advertise. Tonight, I do plan on speaking to the Renfrew County ATV group. They're going to be doing a delegation to Town Council tonight, so it's going to be an opportunity for me to speak to them as well. From today's presentation, is there anything that anyone would like to add to this, or are we kind of content with how it's written? All right. So with that, all in favor? Okay, all right, it's carried. Thank you, everyone. Next is E.4.2, which is members of the Economic Development Advisory Committee to propose ideas for a tourism task force mandate for potential recommendation to Renfrew Town Council. Don't need a mover. I'll just start. This was brought to us by a member, and this was an opportunity for us to maybe put some ideas in for this. So if anyone's put any thought into this and has some ideas, now's a good time to speak. And if we don't have much, the member that proposed it isn't here, we could potentially move this to the next meeting. So give the members an opportunity to speak to this if they have anything. John?
Is the general idea to have a task force separate from this group, like 4 or 5 different people from different walks of life that then come to this group, or do they report to council?
The intention is to have a standalone group that would meet on its own merit and then report to council. I'd like to defer this, Deputy Clerk, if we could. I think that there's still a good conversation here, but without having the member that presented the idea, I think we should defer it. Okay. So next is G, upcoming discussion request, opportunity for the board to present anything that might be something they want to speak to in upcoming meetings. Does anyone have any ideas or? Okay, quiet today. all the technical difficulties, I don't blame anyone. Item H, which is committee minutes, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee confirm the minutes of the committee meeting dated January 13th, 2026. Do I have a mover? John Poole. Any comments or discussion in regards to the minutes? Not seeing any. All right. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Item I, which is upcoming meeting of committee. The next regular scheduled meeting for Economic Development Advisory Committee is scheduled for March 10th, 2026 at 10 a.m. And at this time of 11:22, I'll call the meeting to adjournment. And again, I genuinely appreciate the resilience there, Erica and Lori, to sit through the technical difficulties. We'll give you a wholesome update if you require, okay? Thank you.
That's great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.